What is up, everybody? And it is Dallas Week, y'all. I know someone on Twitter told me that we don't do Dallas Week anymore. I was like, you know what? We're doing Dallas Week regardless. I'm Zach Selby, staff writer at WashingtonFootball.com, and then we also have our editor, Kyle Stackpole, as always. Kyle, what's going on, man?
Doing pretty good. Thursday, ready for Dallas. You know, after Sunday's game, it was definitely a bummer with how they lost and even going into Monday. But then once Wednesday morning came, you woke up, you realized, you know, how Dallas performed against Arizona and how they've been performing all season, and you're kind of rejuvenated. Another NFC East matchup, and I mean, no one wants to talk about it, and they shouldn't talk about it, but this NFC East is so bad that you can pick up a couple wins and build some momentum. So somehow, you know, they're still in this race, and that means meaningful football going forward, and I'm excited for Sunday.
Yeah, you know, it's been a busy week here for a bunch of other different reasons, but you know what we said, you know, we got to get to our people and let them know about the preview for this week. And we want everybody to know that this is an official podcast of the Washington Football Team. You can check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, not Pandora. Well, you know, weirdly Pandora has a
does it?
Yeah, it does.
I didn't even know it did.
Yeah, but we're not going to find us on there. But
what, Stevie?
Tune in.
Yeah, we've like barely said tune in, so let's give tune in some love.
Yeah, and YouTube. You can check us out on YouTube. We are on video. Also, you can find us on the Twitters at Kyle Stackpole and Zach D. Selby. And also check out all of our content on WashingtonFootball.com. We can deliver you all the best stuff all the time.
Every time.
That's right. So,
I love that.
We got a great show for you. We're going to be talking about the Dallas Cowboys matchup, obviously, because it's Dallas Week. And we're going to be talking to Cowboys staff writer David Helman. And then we're going to ask some of your fan questions and who we got, the segment that everybody is clamoring for. It's kind of...
everyone's talking about.
That's right. You know it, I know it, everyone knows it. So before we do that, we're going to just really dive into this Dallas Cowboys matchup. And, you know, this Cowboys offense is really, really good. But this Washington secondary also really good. Second best in the league, 207 yards allowed, which is second best behind only the Indianapolis Colts. So, you know, really, there's been some issues with safety, as we know, but they seem to have got that sorted out a little bit with DeShazer Everett out there at free safety. So what did you see from DeShazer, and how can the secondary really attack this passing offense that has weapons everywhere?
Yeah, I think first DeShazer, I think he played well. I mean, he tied for the team lead, 6 tackles with Cole Holcomb. He came up and stuck a couple guys. I think he hit Daniel Jones. He did have a penalty, which unnecessary roughness wasn't good, but he seemed like he played well. There was the big play to Darius Slayton, but that was Fabian Moreau's guy. And then Daniel Jones's, 49-yard run, which was, I think, Landon Collins could have had him, and he missed him. So none of those big plays were DeShazer's fault, and there wasn't any big plays over the middle of the field where there was a miscommunication and 2 guys got beat. So I mean, he's a veteran guy. He started before. He hasn't started much, but he's shown that he can play in this league, and I think that he performed well. I mean, I think the coaches should be happy with what they got out of him. In terms of stopping Dallas's receivers, it's going to be tough because they have. I mean, they got to have the most talented receiving core in the league.
Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup,
and then you add in CeeDee Lamb, who has been incredible. I think he's had at least 5 catches in every single game this year.
Second on the team receiving.
Yeah, he's been awesome. And so I think it's going to be less about trying to stop them. It's going to be more about trying to contain them and then getting to the quarterback. Because the way they're going to beat Dallas is really pressuring Andy Dalton and forcing him to throw the ball quick.
Right.
Because if these receivers have time to get open, they're going to get open. They're Pro Bowl guys. They're first-round picks. They have a lot of talent there. So the secondary is really going to rely on the front to get pressure and help them out.
Yeah, I think, DeShazer is... my man's a thumper. I mean, he's going to hit
him and Peyton Barber, the thumpers of the team.
I think that's something that Ron Rivera really likes. Is you don't like the penalties, but you see them hits, you're like, yes.
Yep.
I'm down for that right there. And he's physical, and I think that's really something the secondary needs, because they got some physical guys out there. Landon Collins, obviously, but DeShazer's another guy that he's been here for a long time. He's a special teams king. And he does everything that you need him to do, really. And as far as the secondary goes, we haven't really talked about Kendall Fuller yet. I mean, Kendall Fuller is tied for the league in interceptions. And that, I mean, ever since that Browns game, which only had 1 tackle, he has an interception in the past 3 games. I mean, this man is insanely good at finding ways to pick off the ball. I mean, he's shown that he is one of the best corners, at least cover corners, in the league so far. And I'm really interested to see, like, there's not three Kendall Fullers, obviously, but I do think I'm curious to see if he's going to shadow people. I mean, you would think that he want to distribute out his abilities to everywhere.
Probably.
Because he can play on the outside and in the corner, and we even saw he can play some safety as well. If they needed that pick that he had against the Giants came when he was at safety. So I think that Kendall Fuller is going to be a big piece to whatever they want to do to stop this high-powered offense, because you look at what Dallas can do, and they can attack you literally everywhere. So whatever he can do, I think he's going to be a key cog this week.
Definitely. And we talked about the secondary, and I mentioned it a little bit with the defensive line, but really getting pressure. And Andy Dalton's no Dak Prescott. He's one of the – he can move around a little bit, but he's not making plays on the run. He's not scrambling for first down. So, how can the defensive line help the secondary and really get after this offensive line that does not look like a lot of people expected it to before the season?
Well, it's something that I knew but I didn't really like fully comprehend. Is like you told me before off air that 4 out of their 5 starters from week 1 are done. They're not done, but like they might not be playing this week. Zach Martin is in concussion protocol. He might not be able to play depending on what they do. Thursday will probably be a big day to tell whether or not he can be ready or not. But you have to take advantage of this offensive line if you're Washington's defensive line, because you still have just 5 first-round picks. I mean, and this defensive line has kind of dipped a little bit in sack production.
Yeah, definitely.
I think they're 8th now, and when they were number 1. So,
and after having 8 sacks in the first game and now being 8th.
To be fair, that is a high standard.
Yeah.
I mean, but at the same time, we know they're capable of this. And you look at what they did against the Eagles, and I think the Eagles had a pretty banged-up offensive line to start. Yeah. And you saw what they did to take advantage of that. Chase Young is a quick guy. He can take and go inside or out and do whatever you need to get to the quarterback. And I think, it's really going to be interesting to see how they really plan to attack so many versatile weapons on the defensive line, because Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen, they can also crash the middle as well.
Yep.
So I think they're just going to have to take advantage, bring pressure all the time, every time.
There we go.
and see what they can do. I mean, maybe you're going to lose some, sure, but you're also going to get there as well. And that's going to be able to help, Andy Dalton throw some passes that are off course, and maybe Kendall Fuller will get his 5th interception.
Yeah, I think Dallas is just going to have to change up their game plan. It's like you're not going to be able to stop this defensive line. They totally wrecked Philadelphia, and this offensive line now might be a little bit worse than what Philly's was. So I think that the offense is really they're going to get the ball out quick. They're going to try to rely on Ezekiel Elliott if he can hold on to the ball. I mean, he's got 4 fumbles this year. Yeah. We talked to David Helman about that. But it's, like you said, pressure as much as possible. Get the hands up. Really just get Andy Dalton to get him to have some happy feet. He's moving around the pocket. He's unbalanced, because that's when you're going to get the bad throws, and that's when you're going to get the turnovers. And the turnovers is what Washington was able to do against Philly to get those short fields and win, and they haven't done that since. So I feel bad for Andy Dalton, because this is going to be a rough day. I mean, it was rough against the Cardinals, and they didn't even have Chandler Jones.
Yeah.
And now you're going up against a defense with 5 first-round picks, so good luck to him.
Yeah, maybe they'll say they need to get the red rifle missing his mark. If you like dad jokes, you're going to like me here on the Rundown Podcast. But, real quick here, we had to also talk about Washington's offense. Mm-hmm. And Washington receivers are banged up. I mean, you have Terry McLaurin, then you have Dontrell Inman, but you have a bunch of other, no-name options, really. I mean, you have some practice squad, and you have Cam Sims, but other than that, you have Jeff Bedet and Tony Brown, 2 guys that really haven't played. They're yet to make their season debut. Mm-hmm. We both have stories on that. Kyle has a story on Cam Sims. I have a story on Bedet and Brown that you can check out on WashFootball.com. But, Kyle, what is the plan at receiver?
So the plan is, for now, I think the starters are going to be Terry McLaurin, Dontrell Inman, Cam Sims. They're going to temporarily elevate those 2 guys that you mentioned. Mm-hmm. But, it's not good. No. There was a reason that Cam Sims, going into last week's game, only had 9 snaps, and he made that touchdown, or he scored that touchdown late to put him in position to win. But, there was a reason that the rookies were playing ahead of him. So it's it's really tough, and it's going to make it tough on Kyle Allen. But I think against this Dallas defense that's so bad, there's still going to be holes for the receivers. And Scott Turner is also going to have to get creative with really relying on the running backs out of the backfield. Yeah. Really, getting that running game going, because these receivers are not talented enough. I mean, that's just what it is, to really get separation on a consistent basis. So I think Washington's going to have to get creative with what they do to scheme up some route concepts that gets those guys open. And I think trying to beat Dallas downfield too is going to open it up, because we saw Cam Sims can beat a defender and catch a 20, 25-yard pass, so then we know what Terry can do. So it's a tough draw for Washington, just based on all these injuries. But I mean, against Dallas's defense, you wouldn't want to go up against another defense other than Dallas, because if you're going to have these receivers do well, this is the game.
Do you think Antonio Gibson is going to be able to get more at receiver? Because that's something that you have a good weapon in that, and then you have another option to be like, hey, we have a guy who balled out at receiver at Memphis, and we have an available spot. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think they could. I mean, we saw him split out a couple times. I think it was against Baltimore, and he was running more screens and going downfield. But I think that's definitely something they're going to try to get him to do. I mean, Scott Turner was saying how he's getting more comfortable being that receiver and running those routes, and it takes time. So I don't think he's going to line up as that fourth receiver and go in ahead of one of those practice squad guys, because they just need him to be a running back and catch the ball out of the backfield. But it's definitely an interesting option to have, and a really good, another receiving threat that can help them out when they're down.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how many receptions he and J.D. McKissick are going to get, because they both have that experience, and we'll get to that on who
little
got.
tease,
a little soft tease there for you. But we're going to take a quick break, guys, but when we come back, we're going to be talking to Cowboys staff writer David Helman. Stick tight.
This fall, if you're looking for adventure, find it in a new Honda, like the turbocharged Accord, the turbocharged all-wheel drive CR-V, and the all-wheel drive HR-V, with great features like second-row magic seats. It's time to explore and say hello to the open road. Don't miss your chance to get a great deal on your favorite Honda model. When it comes to the best value, Honda leaves the others in the dust. See your local Honda dealer and start your adventure today.
At RTS, game day strategy doesn't stop when the whistle blows. RTS delivers smarter, more responsible waste and recycling services. As an official partner of the Washington football team, RTS is connecting the team and FedEx Field with sustainable solutions to care for the community and the environment. RTS, a better waste company. Find out more at rts.com.
Has your business been affected by COVID-19? Have you considered reducing or moving your office space? Then it's time to call Victory Van. We provide the best service and price with flexible options for your company's moving and storage needs. Visit victoryvan.com to get your free moving and storage quote today. For corporate storage and moving, it's always the right move to choose Victory Van. That's victoryvan.com. Victory Van Corporation, delivering excellence for 75 years and a proud partner of the Washington football team.
We're back here on the Rundown Podcast, and like we said, we have Cowboys staff writer David Helman. He's been there for about 8 years now. David, how you doing, man?
I'm wonderful, y'all. Thanks for having me on. Good to talk to you.
Yeah, absolutely. We're really, really glad to have you. And the first thing we're going to go ahead and get in here is, Andy Dalton obviously is the big story here. Dak Prescott probably going to be out for the whole season, with that dislocation, that compound fracture. But how different does this number one ranked offense look with Andy Dalton under center?
It looked about the same on Monday night, which is to say sloppy. Because not to let Andy Dalton off the hook, but I'm not sure the Cowboys really got a good look at what he could do. Ezekiel Elliott had fumbles on back-to-back possessions that put them in another multi-score hole, and that's kind of been the story of the entire season. Dak Prescott was good enough to dig them out of a few of those holes. Dalton wasn't, but they were down 21-0, heading into the Cowboys' final possession of the half. It just makes it hard to play balanced offense when you wind up in situations like that. So it was hard to evaluate. And then obviously, we can talk about the Cowboys defense. It's about as bad as it gets. So it was hard to truly evaluate Dalton. It didn't look good, but I'd like to see a little bit more before I throw too many judgments out there, because it's just hard to perform when you wind up in a situation like that.
We talked a lot about it in the first segment, but this offensive line looks a lot different than it looked before the season, than what they thought it was going to look like and what it looked like the past several years. So what's been going on with the offensive line? I know there's been a lot of injuries. What's the status of it now, and how has that impacted the offense so far?
Oh, I mean, it's everything. I've covered enough Washington-Dallas games to know, the Cowboys have been famous for kind of having the same, this dominant offensive line, same guys year in and year out. And Washington has had their fair amount of struggles where, there's guys in and out of the lineup. You don't know who everybody is. That's what's happening here. I think every bit of bad juju that could hit the Cowboys on the offensive line happened at once. Travis Frederick retired in the spring, somewhat unexpectedly. Lyle Collins winds up on IR right out the gate, before the season even starts. Tyron Smith gave it a go, but, his injury issues finally caught up to him. The starting center behind Travis Frederick, Joe Looney, sprains his MCL a couple weeks ago. And to top it all off, Zach Martin got a concussion on Monday night. His status for Sunday is in doubt. So Connor Williams is the only guy left who has been a starter for any period of time, the left guard. Everybody else is rookies, journeymen, undrafted free agents. To put it mildly, it's been a nightmare. And again, that's another thing where, nobody feels sorry for Andy Dalton. That's life in the NFL, but it's going to be a challenge for him to put good tape out there with this protection. He got shellacked on Monday night by Arizona, and I don't need to tell anybody listening to this podcast that Washington has a lot of good pass rushers, so it's something the Cowboys should be very, very worried about.
Well, another thing that Dallas should have to be worried about is Ezekiel Elliott, and he's had 5 fumbles. He's lost 4 of them. I mean, he had 2 against the Cardinals, and those led to points. I mean, what is he doing, if anything, to really address that fumbling problem that he has?
That's one of the biggest topics of conversation here in Dallas is, it sounds so dumb. Zeke Elliott's been carrying the football since he was like 5 years old. Like, he knows how to hold on to a football. So what are you supposed to change? I don't know, but he's got to change something because he leads the league in fumbles lost. I don't think there is another running back in the NFL right now with more than 2, and he's got 4. That's just yet another problem the Cowboys are dealing with. They're injured. A lot of teams are injured. Nobody wants to hear that. But on top of the injuries, their big money players aren't delivering. Zeke he's a $15 million a year running back. He's supposed to be able to carry you when times get tough. He said this himself on Monday night. He was like, I'm the guy that this team is supposed to be able to lean on right now, and I'm not playing that way. And he's very correct. I don't think this team stands a chance until guys like him and a few other guys like DeMarcus Lawrence pick up their level of play.
You talk about DeMarcus Lawrence, and I wanted to move over to the defense because before Dak got hurt, the issue wasn't the offense at all. It was the defense giving up so many points. And it seems like they have some talent. They have some established players on the defensive side. So why have they struggled so much on defense?
It's a mystery. Because coming into the season, we knew the defense wasn't going to be top tier. They lost a lot of guys in the secondary. They let Robert Quinn go to Chicago in free agency. They haven't really spent big draft picks on defense in the last 2 or 3 years. So we knew it was going to be an issue, but they're on a historically bad pace. They've allowed 218 points through 6 games. I think only 3 teams have been worse than that, and they all played in the leather helmet days. Like, it's not good. And so, I thought heading into the season, I was like, all they need to be is like average to a little bit below average, and the offense can cover that. But they've been arguably the worst defense in the NFL, and it's hard to pinpoint why, because they could use some better talent, but that's not the problem. Like, if you watch the Cowboys, I think they've given up 8 touchdowns of 30 or more yards. They gave up 3 plays of 60 or more yards on Monday night, which is more that they have allowed in some seasons in recent memories. So the type of busts that you're seeing, receivers just running free down the field. Kenyon Drake had a 70-yard touchdown run where he literally was not touched. That's not supposed to happen in the NFL. it raises a lot of questions about how well they're adapting to Mike Nolan's scheme, how well Mike Nolan is adjusting his scheme to fit the players that he has. And it's just a mess right now, and it's been a recurring problem for about a month. They didn't really do it against LA. They looked okay against Atlanta, all things considered. But from week 3 on, this has been a steady problem, and it makes you wonder if they're capable of fixing it at this point.
Well, David, we're going to let us go real quick. But before we leave, we want to know, what are 3 keys to Sunday's game?
I mean, we talked about the big one for me is finding a way to keep Andy Dalton off his back. Chase Young, Ryan Kerrigan, Jonathan Allen, Montez Sweat, I think, is actually leading the team. They just keep coming up there. So I don't know how they're going to do it. So that's the big one for me. And then, what we just talked about, Terry McLaurin, obviously he's a big play guy. He's the type of guy that can get free behind a defense, especially one as susceptible as this. I like the Cowboys' odds to slow down the run, but those explosive passing plays could be real troublesome. And then, it's probably obvious, but you're gonna need better effort from Ezekiel Elliott if you're gonna win significantly more ball games. So with the offensive line woes, the fact that Andy Dalton is going to be under constant duress, he needs more help from Zeke, and he's going to need to get back on track in a big way.
He is David Helman. You can find him on Twitter at HelmanDC. If you really want to go check out what the Dallas Cowboys are up to, he's got all kinds of updates every day. David, it's been real great to talk to you, man. Unfortunately, we'll not be able to see you at FedEx Field, but hopefully whenever all this COVID stuff is over, we'll be able to hang out and enjoy the press box together.
Absolutely. I mean, it's first world problems, but it's been a bummer not being able to travel around and see all of y'all, all the different staffs and get to know people covering the league. So, let's knock on wood that in 2021 we can do that.
I hear that,
Definitely.
man. Well, we'll talk to you later, man. You have a good rest of the week, all right?
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, y'all. Thanks.
And when we come back, guys, we are going to be answering your fan questions, and also we're going to be doing Who We Got. So stick tight. We'll be right back. Finch Services Incorporated, recognized in its industry as a world-class organization, is the exclusive supplier of John Deere golf and sports turf maintenance equipment for the Mid-Atlantic region. In business since 1945, Finch helps golf course and sports turf managers maintain some of the most exclusive playing surfaces in the region. Experience the Finch advantage for yourself. Contact one of our golf and sports turf sales specialists to see how we can help you maintain your field of dreams. Go to finchturf.com for more information.
We're retiring our old name and launching a new kind of legend. The journey starts now. Visit WashingtonJourney.com for latest insider news related to the team rebrand.
Couchgating, presented by the DC Lottery. Couchgating is the new tailgating. Enter to win a chance at a WFT DC Lottery fan pack. Celebrate your Couchgate by sharing a photo using hashtag CouchgatingDCL. To have your Couchgating photo featured on the Couchgating Wall of Fame, please post your photos on social media using the tags at Washington Football, at DC Lottery, and the hashtag CouchgatingDCL for consideration. Please note that not all photos will be accommodated on the Couchgating Wall of Fame, and all Couchgating photos are posted at the sole discretion of the Washington football team. Back here on the Rundown Podcast, an official podcast of the Washington football team. And as promised, we're going to get through some fan questions. We're just going to skip right into it because I know these fans are dying.
They're dying. I know.
They're not literally dying, but they're metaphysically dying to hear what they have to say. But we're going to go with the first one here. This one here from @TallManShort. How has Jeff Bedet looked in practice? Super interesting prospect, 4.2 speed. Played in the XFL, deep threat in college. That's something we really didn't talk about. I mean, he's the number 4 overall pick in the XFL draft. And he has a 4.27 40. But yeah, what do you think about Jeff Bedet?
I mean, we haven't really been able to see him that much in practice aside from individual drills with them running, just routes with the QBs originally. And I mean, I think he's looked decent. But I think that speed is really something that could help them against Dallas with being able to take the top off the defense. I mean, if you could line him up in the slot and say, go run a slot fade, and he runs past the safety, and all Kyle Allen's got to do is throw it up. So he's an interesting guy, and he's been on the practice squad for the past couple of weeks. So these guys, been out there every single day. They know the offense just as good as the starters. They just haven't had a chance to show themselves. So I'm excited to see what he can do, what Tony Brown can do, because this is their opportunity. Guys in the practice squad look for these moments to come in and make a name for themselves, and we'll see if it can happen.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think it's going to be interesting to see what he can do, especially he can take the top off. I mean, this team has like a lot of really good speed. You have Bedet 4.2, you have Mclaren 4.3, and then you have Gibson also 4.3.
Yeah.
But we got another one. This one here from @DJ Can Rock. When will the focus on the defensive secondary struggle outweigh the focus of our QB drama?
Interesting. I think
it's a fair question.
It is a fair question, but I think the secondary struggle, I think it outweighed the quarterback situation last week almost, when Del Rio was talking about how DeShazier Everett provides more juice and we should get him more snaps, and how, DeShazier's going to be in there, and, hey, there's been a lot of miscommunication. So I think that was kind of the peak where that took center stage on that Thursday, because Del Rio talked about that, of like, this is an issue. And the passing defense has been really good, but the big plays need to stop. And it seems like with DeShazier Everett, they did stop. They looked better last week. So I think now it's back on the QBs, because you had Kyle Allen commit 2 turnovers, and while he got them back in the game, he really cost them the game with that fumble. So I think the secondary is on its way back. I guess. I mean, Landon Collins could still play better. He needs to play better, but I think there was a lot more issues when Troy Apke was in there, and we were seeing those every couple of series. A guy was getting beat deep. So I think it's a good question, but I think the secondary is on its way up.
Yeah, I really think the issue is at safety, because I think the corners are playing really well.
Oh yeah, I think, it should have said safety.
Yeah, and I think not just Kendall Fuller, but also I think Ronald Darby's playing well. I think Fabian Moreau is playing really well. So I think they might have figured out the issue at safety. It's really I don't want to like Hellman said, I don't want to go with one game. I need to stack games on top of each other. And I think there's a good start. I'm going to put my faith in DeShazier and see what he does. But we got this question here from @GamerFlaredon. Interesting name.
Okay.
How impactful will Cam Sims and the other backup wide receivers be this week, since so many are injured or are out?
Well, Sims is going to start, you would think. I mean,
you would assume.
There's only 3 receivers on the active roster right now. And so if you're running out 3 receivers and you're not putting Antonio Gibson out there, then Cam Sims is going to start.
Yeah.
And I think he has the biggest chance out of anybody, because we've seen him, and everyone has talked about him from like late July to early September. It's been like Cam Sims, he's a guy. This is a year.
Every year.
Yeah, exactly. He owns like those like 6 weeks, because he just makes a ton of plays in training camp, and he's a big physical guy. He can make contested catches. So I think he really has this chance. He can benefit. He stands to benefit more than these other receivers, because he's the guy who's been on the fringe. I mean, he's been really good on special teams, and that's the reason that they called him up permanently initially. But if he can make a couple catches like he did against the Giants, it's going to be hard to get him off the field once guys like Antonio Gannon-Golden and Isaiah Wright come back, because it's not like the guys that are hurt right now are like first-round picks where they're going to come back in. This is still a competition, and if Cam Sims shows that he can outperform the guys who are now injured, then he could get a starting job going forward. So this is a huge moment for Cam Sims, and I love to see what he can do, and it's gonna be cool.
When I first saw that touchdown, I thought, 1, I'm just so happy for Cam Sims finally breaking through, and 2, I felt so happy for all those Cam Sims stands out there who are probably just screaming at their like, finally this guy got on the field and did something good, because we've been waiting for it. And I hope he does well. I really do. I think he has the size. I think he has the speed. I think he has the hands to do it. So we'll see what he can do for sure. This last one here from @Schwarz_Mike. Man, I've been good at pronouncing these weird.
Yeah, you've been nailing it.
Do you anticipate the backfield being predominantly Gibson/McKissick, or should we expect to keep seeing Peyton Barber?
I think with the receivers being as decimated as they are, I think we're going to see predominantly Gibson and McKissick, just because they can also help out in the passing game. Whereas if Peyton Barber's in the game, you're running the ball. That's what's happening. The way that I can see Peyton Barber getting there more is that if Washington builds a lead, just like they did against Philadelphia, a lot of those carries for Barber came once they were in the lead and they were trying to run the clock out. So I think to start the game, it's going to be Gibson McKissick show. If it's a back and forth game, those guys are going to stay in there. The only way you're going to see Barber is if Washington gets a lead. And I think that's the correct call. I think that Gibson and McKissick need to be in there more.
Yeah, I think we might see a little bit more Barber this week. Because I think McKissick and Gibson are going to see some receiving time. I think that they might be lined up a little bit outside, which they have been showing themselves to do. I think they might be lined up a little bit of the slot. And if that's the case, then you're going to see maybe some Peyton Barber out there. And you're going to see him what he's shown that he can go at it back. I mean, he's got the thump, as Randy Jordan likes to say.
Gotta have that thump.
Yeah, gotta have the thump. But I think not just in short yard situations, but this guy has shown he has a little bit of speed to him. Not Gibson or McKissick speed, mind you, but enough speed to really keep you honest and really wonder what he's going to do. So I just think out of necessity for the wide receivers, he'll be getting some more time. But we're going to move on now, and we're going to go into the segment that everyone has been clamoring into. They've been wanting to hear about what we have to say every week. It is who we got, and we're going to have, as always, we're going to have 3 here. And the first one, more receptions. Antonio Gibson or J.D. McKissick. Who you got, Kyle?
So if the receivers weren't as injured, I would have said this is an easy one. It's a little harder because of that, but I still think it's J.D. McKissick.
Yeah.
Past 3 games, he's had, I think, 20 receptions.
Yeah.
So that's pretty incredible. I mean, for a running back to have that many receptions, I think he's going to continue that against Dallas. He's going to be the main receiving threat. And he also looked good running the ball. So I think this could be a game where J.D. McKissick finally, he has that breakout game because he's been used a lot, but he hasn't really broken those big plays. And Antonio Gibson overshadowed him because he's gotten more of those big plays. But I think McKissick's going to get the job done and really help this offense move down the field.
I think Gibson is going to get a little bit more. I think it's most going to be in the screen game. I think you look at what they did against Baltimore, and you look at that 40-yard screen that he had.
Yeah.
And you look at I think that's really what it's going to be. I think it's going to be some quick passes out there just to get them in space because McKissick and Gibson have shown they're really good in space. But I also believe that Gibson has emerged really as the second best weapon on this offense outside of Terry McLaurin. I mean, his total yards are the second only to McLaurin, and he has the speed. I think he has the power. And I've been talking to some of Gibson's old coaches over the past week, which long tease coming out on WashingtonFootball.com in the near future. But they say he's got everything that you want, and I think that size and that rare ability is really going to show itself. And I think most of the screens are what's going to be able to get them out there. So I'm going to go with Gibson.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. So we're going to move on to the next one here. More targets because Amari Cooper has 65. Terry McLaurin has 58. Probably Terry McLaurin is obviously the number 1 wide receiver. Amari Cooper, he's got a more talented group around him. But more targets, McLaurin or Cooper?
I think for me it's easy. It's Chef Terry.
Chef Terry.
I say you give him all the targets.
Join the movement, Chef Terry.
Chef Terry, yeah, that's right. The rundown started it. But I mean, Terry, just throw him the ball as much as possible. You saw against the Giants that there were some throws that Kyle Allen missed that Terry was open. He could have easily had over 100 yards if that one play where Kyle Allen threw the ball to the sideline and it went out of bounds right near the goal line, that could have been a touchdown if he timed it right. So Terry, it doesn't matter that he's the only guy on the field that, has that upper echelon talent.
Yeah.
He's going to get open regardless. Doesn't matter how many people are on him. He showed the ability to get open. Against anybody. Look at the DBs he's faced the first 6 weeks of the season. It's a star-studded cast. Yep. So just throwing the ball as many times as possible. Even if you're just throwing the ball up there, you're letting him go get it. I think he should have 15 targets, maybe 17. I don't know. 17. He had 14 against a couple weeks ago, so it's not out of the realm possibility. But the other thing, Amari Cooper with CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup, they're going to spread the ball around.
True.
And they don't need him to produce as much as Washington needs Terry to produce.
I agree. I actually have a tweet for the Chef Terry fans out there. I'm sure we got some out there, but I have a tweet
a little bit, yeah,
specifically for Chef Terry. Whenever he does something, I was hoping to do it against the Giants. Hasn't come out.
This
yet,
could be the week.
I think this could be the one. So just because we disagreed in the other two, I feel confident agreeing that Terry is gonna cook. Gonna cook them DBs up. So that's. I think we had a really good show this week. Honestly,
we forgot one though. You thought we had a good show until you forgot one.
What's the third one? We already had 3.
Better completion percentage.
Oh my God, what am I thinking about? All right.
You jinxed it.
Yeah, I did. Dang. All right. Anyway, so more completion percentage between Kyle Allen or Andy Dalton. They were pretty similar. Kyle Allen had 73%. Andy Dalton had 62%. What do you got?
I'm going to let you go first.
Oh, fine. All right.
Put you on the spot.
I got to make up for that terrible gaffe I just had. I'm going to have to go with Kyle Allen.
Okay.
Honestly, because I think this Cowboys defense is not good. And I think that, they have some good options. That they have Trayvon Diggs. They have some good options. I mean, Alden Smith, believe it or not, has 4 sacks.
He's been good.
Good for him. But, I think that this is going to be Kyle Allen's time. I think he's improved. I think he's shown improvement against the Giants. I think that this passing defense is 18th in the league, but I do believe that he's going to have some opportunities with Terry. I think he's going to have some opportunities with Antonio Gibson. A little bit of J.D. McKissick, not as much as Antonio Gibson. But I do think that he's going to be able to find some guys open because there are holes on this defense that are definitely willing to be exploited.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you with Kyle Allen. Kyle Allen doesn't throw the ball down the field that much anyway. Yeah. And the fact that the guys we're going to be throwing out there at wide receiver, I think it's going to be a lot of dump-offs, a lot of screens, a lot of checkdowns, methodically moving the ball down the field just like they get against the Giants. And that's going to lead to a great completion percentage. So I think Allen's going to definitely have it. You said he was 73% last time. I think you could see something similar to that. You're hoping they go downfield more, but I think with their personnel, they're really going to try to slowly move the chains, keep the offense on the field, try to wear down that Dallas D.
Yeah, I think so. All right, now we're going to go
now you can say
out
it
here. And guess what, y'all? You're about to hear some plugs, so get ready. This is an official podcast of the Washington football team. You can check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and check out all of our content on WashingtonFootball.com. Tune in, says Stevie. So that's a good reminder. Thank you, Stevie. You can find us on the Twitters at Kyle F. Stackpole, Zach D. Selby. And I think that's really much it. It's Dallas week. I'm going to say it again. It's Dallas week. And for Kyle Stackpole, I'm Zach Selby, and this has been The Rundown.
COVID changed everything. More demands on students, parents, educators. But there was a $4 billion education shortfall in Maryland even before COVID. We have a lot to do for our kids. Close the digital divide, provide opportunities to pursue vocational and technical education, and hire more qualified teachers. Question 2 will put millions into Maryland schools using revenue from sports betting. I know it won't solve every problem, but a yes vote will help our Maryland schools.
For more than 100 years, Chesapeake Employers Insurance has been helping Maryland businesses keep their workers safe. With competitive pricing and an AM Best A- financial strength rating, it's no surprise that Chesapeake Employers is Maryland's largest writer of workers' comp insurance.
At the end of every workday, someone's waiting for your safe return.
Connect with your agent or visit CEIWC.com.
Locally owned Novec is energizing the community in powerful ways. From sponsoring meals for first responders and medical professionals to donating generously to area food banks, Novec knows we're in this together. Novec and customers are funding crisis energy assistance by having their bills rounded up each month. Novec and employees are supporting local charities through Novec Helps. That's the power of working together. That's Novec.
And now, time for another Honda highlight. Jed was in mid-season form when his car went into an early retirement. Looking to upgrade his roster to all-wheel drive, Jed went down to his local Honda dealer. Jed scouted the CR-V, Pilot, Passport, and more. In the end, Jed saved his season by picking up a new versatile HR-V with collapsible magic seats. Savvy stuff, Jed. Very savvy stuff.
Save your season with a great deal on an all-wheel drive Honda. See your local Honda dealer today.
This is London Fletcher. Join me in supporting the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration's Red Ribbon Week and National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day. Talk to your loved ones about drug misuse, participate in drug prevention and education activities, and take the pledge to be drug-free. Then on Saturday, October 24th, clean out your medicine cabinet of unused, unwanted, expired prescription drugs to take part in National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day. Visit DEATakeback.com to find a collection site near you.
COVID changed everything. More demands on students, parents, educators. But there was a $4 billion education shortfall in Maryland even before COVID. We have a lot to do for our kids. Close the digital divide, provide opportunities to pursue vocational and technical education, and hire more qualified teachers. Question 2 will put millions into Maryland schools using revenue from sports betting. I know it won't solve every problem, but a yes vote will help our Maryland schools.